Hi everyone. Today we're gonna review energy to prepare for your quiz. So if you follow along, you guys should be okay on your quiz. Sorry I'm not here today. There is something I had to take care of, but this will hopefully help you. So, the first part of your quiz talks about temperature changes as it results to the system and the surroundings. So here we have a reaction. This is methane with oxygen will form carbon dioxide, water, and we see 400 kilojoules of energy as a product. So when energy or kilojoules are shown on the product side, that means that energy was released. Okay. So when energy is released, this is indicative of an exothermic reaction. Okay. Now, if the energy had appeared on the reactant side, then that means that energy is a reactant, and therefore that would be an endothermic reaction because heat is absorbed. So pay attention to where the energy shows up in the chemical equation. Again, if it's on the left side, that means it's a reactant and therefore endothermic. In this case, an endothermic reaction, the temperature would decrease. Endothermic reactions will feel cool to the touch, and exothermic reactions will feel warm to the touch because they are releasing heat. Okay. So also in an endothermic reaction, the transfer of energy will be from the system and into the surroundings. That's why it will feel warm to the touch, because if you're touching a test tube that is exothermic, then it will feel warm or hot. Okay. In an endothermic reaction, the surroundings are losing energy and the system is gaining energy. So the heat transfer is from the surroundings and into the system. Okay, so that covers the first two questions of your quiz. Just knowing where the kilojoules are. If they're on the right, it's exothermic. In an exothermic reaction, the system is losing energy and it's going into the surroundings. Okay, for this question here, a piece of metal at 50 degrees Celsius is dropped into water at 25 degrees Celsius. After 10 minutes, both the metal and the water are 30 degrees. So this is an example of heat lost is equal to heat gained. Okay, so basically the metal is losing energy and the water is gaining energy, and they will equalize at 30 degrees Celsius. So think about it in terms of heat transfer. Okay, so in this case, the metal has lost energy and the water has gained energy. Now, the energy change over time will be equal. Okay, the energy change of the metal will be equal to the energy change of the water because, again, they will equalize and heat lost is heat gained. Okay, now we're going to do some energy stoic. So this is just like what we went over in class. Here we're looking for the mass of oxygen, and our given is 500 kilojoules. So we're going to take that 500 kilojoules, and using our chemical equation, we're going to use the mole ratio between oxygen and the energy that is being released in that reaction. So if I were to start with my given, I have 500 kilojoules of energy. And looking at the chemical equation, I need to get rid of kilojoules. So there's 800 kilojoules in this reaction, and that's for every 2 moles of oxygen. So make sure you're paying attention to that coefficient. And then now if I want to get the mass of oxygen, remember anytime you need mass, you're going to need the molar mass of oxygen, which is 31.998 grams in 1 mole of oxygen. So here we end up with mass because the kilojoules will divide out, the moles will divide out, and we're left with grams of oxygen. So you would just multiply 500 times 2 times 31.998 divided by 800. Now, if you were going the other way, let's say I gave you the mass and I wanted the kilojoules. So let's say, for example, I gave you, 10 grams of oxygen. You would have to get to moles by dividing by the molar mass of oxygen. And then from there, using your mole ratio, you would look at the balanced equation. There's 2 moles of oxygen for every 800 kilojoules. And then from there, you would end up with kilojoules. So depending on which way your quiz goes, just pay attention to what's you're given. If you're given is energy, you're going to need to cancel out the energy using the mole ratio and then get to mass. But if you're given mass, you're going to have to divide by the molar mass and then use your mole ratio to get your kilojoules. So pay attention to what you're given and what you're trying to get to, and make sure diagonally your units match. Okay. The next part of the quiz is Q equals MC delta T and Q equals Ma. Okay, so with Q equals MC delta T, Q is heat measured in joules. M is mass measured in grams. C is the specific heat of a substance. It's how much energy can raise 1 gram of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. And then you're going to have the change in T. Delta T is going to be the change in temperature. Okay, so let's say I gave you a sample that was about 20 grams. The specific heat is 4.184, and the change in temperature was 7 degrees Celsius. You would just plug in all of the values for mass, specific heat, and temperature, and then substitute that in and solve. Let's say you're solving for specific heat. Okay, so if I have Q equals MC delta T, the specific heat is C. If I'm solving for C, we're going to need to divide by mass times delta T to both sides. Okay, so then we end up with C is equal to Q over mass times delta T. Okay, so you can rearrange the equation to solve for what you're looking for. Okay, with QMA, this is only if they give you the mass and the heat of fusion or the heat of vaporization. Heat of fusion just means melting, and heat of vaporization means boiling. So we are going to give you the H, or also known as enthalpy values of fusion, and the enthalpy values of vaporization. You would just have to multiply it by the mass to get the energy that would be required to boil. So if they say the energy required to boil, you would use the heat of vaporization. If they say the energy required to melt, you would use the heat of vaporization. And these are values that we would give you. Okay, also we have Hess's law. Hess's law basically is like a puzzle. So you want to look at the intermediate reactions and match the overall reaction. So you basically look at each reactant and see whether it's on the reactant side or the product side, and matching your intermediate reactions as best as possible. Okay, so here we have CS2, and I look at my first reaction and it doesn't have CS2. We look at oxygen. Oxygen is on the reactant side, so I will keep that. And then CO2 is a product. This CO2 is a product. So for this first reaction, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it because I don't need to change anything for the CO2. Okay. For the second reaction, we have sulfur plus oxygen makes SO2. In my overall reaction, there's two SO2s. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this second intermediate reaction by 2. So that means there'll be 2 sulfurs, 2 oxygens, 2 sulfur dioxides. And then what you do to the enthalpy value, you're also going to have to multiply that by 2. Lastly, we have carbon plus 2 sulfurs will make CS2. Now, our CS2 is a reactant here, but here on the third intermediate reaction, it's a product. So we need to match what we have up here. So we're just going to go ahead and flip that. And whenever I flip a reaction, I do rewrite it just so I can see what I'm canceling out later. And then when you flip the reaction, you also have to change the sign. So instead of positive 87.9, we're going to make this negative. And then at the end, we'll just add everything up. Okay, so now I see what can cancel out. And I just get rid of this guy because we already flipped it. So looking at the reactant side and the product side, if something appears on both the reactant side and the product side, it can cancel out. If it appears on the same side, so they're both reactants or they're both products, you can just add them up. Okay, so let's see what can cancel out here. Okay, I have a carbon here and I have a carbon here. So that is going to get canceled out. Okay, for oxygen, I have 1 oxygen here and 2 oxygens here. They're on the same side, so we're going to add those up. So that's going to be 3 total oxygens. For the CO2, I don't see any on the reactant side, so we're going to bring that down. Okay, for 2 S's, so I see 2 sulfurs here and I see 2 sulfurs here. So since they're on opposite sides, we're going to go ahead and cancel those out. And then lastly, looks like that's it. So looks like I canceled out everything I need to. So everything else you just bring down. And over here, we still have the 2 sulfur dioxides. So these guys didn't cancel out. They're all still there. Okay, so in the end, you just add up everything in terms of the enthalpy values. So we'll do, our delta H will be negative 393.5 plus the negative 296.8 times 2 plus the negative 87.9. And you would plug that in, and that would be your overall enthalpy value. Okay, so Hess's law is kind of like a puzzle. Make sure it matches at the end what you originally wanted. So your overall reaction should be the same as the overall. Okay, moving on to energy diagrams. A potential energy diagram starts with reactants. The top of the slope for your potential energy diagram is called the activated complex. The difference between the activated complex and your reactants is called the activation energy. This is the energy needed to get the reaction started. And the this point here is called the products. This is how much energy the products are giving. So in general, if your products have low energy, they are considered stable, and that is a thermodynamically stable reaction. So most reactions are going to be exothermic, and you can notice this because the products will have less energy than the reactants. Okay, and if you were to take the difference in, if you want the enthalpy of the reaction, you would do the enthalpy of the products minus the enthalpy of the reactants. And you'll notice that if the sign is negative for this, that means that heat was released. So that is also indicative of exothermic. For an endothermic reaction, it would be the opposite. So, for example, the products would have higher energy than the reactants. So it would look kind of like the reverse of this. Okay, so here these would be the reactants and these would be the products. For example, if I were to assign numbers to these, let's say this is 10, this is 20, and this is 30. Okay, the energy of the reactants would be 20 kilojoules. The activated complex would be 30 kilojoules. The products would be 10 kilojoules. The activation energy would be 30 minus 20, which is 10 kilojoules. And the delta H, or the heat of the products minus the heat of the reactants, would be 10 minus 20, which is negative 10. So this would be conducive to an exothermic reaction. Okay. For the reverse this is called the forward reaction. The reverse reaction were to be if you did like a mirror image or if you just flipped it. So the products would become the reactants and the reactants would become the products. So here it would be the opposite. In this case, this would be 10, this would be 20. And if you did 20 minus 10, that would be positive 10. So that would be endothermic. Okay. The activation energy would also be different because now you're only bringing in 10 kilojoules of energy instead of 20, like the forward reaction. So if you were to do 30 minus 10, that would be your activation energy. Okay. The top of this complex, this is the transition state. This is called the activated complex. Okay, so it's pretty much just like what we talked about in class. Um, just make sure to really look at what is being asked of you. You will have equations, you will have givens in the little charts next to it. So just pay attention to what you're being asked, and hopefully it's an easy quiz. Thank you.